As a manager, you're constantly at a crossroads. Your team brings you a dozen different opportunities. Should you invest in a marketing campaign to boost sales of your current product? Or should you invest in R&D for a new product that your business customers are asking for? Should you focus on stealing market share from your biggest competitor? Or should you try to grow the entire market for everyone? Do you plan your production based on this month's sales spike, or on the slow, steady trend you've seen over the past 3 years? Each path requires different resources, different strategies, and leads to a different future. How do you choose the right one? Navigating these choices without a map is a recipe for getting lost. That map, in the world of business strategy, is the classification of demand. It's a framework that allows you to see the business landscape clearly, to understand exactly what kind of demand you're dealing with, and to make the right strategic moves. It helps you answer the fundamental question, what business are we really in? Before we navigate the map, let's understand its language. Demand isn't a single concept. It's influenced by different factors. First, we have price demand, the most common type. It shows how the quantity demanded changes when you change the price, assuming everything else stays constant. Next is income demand. This shows how demand changes when your customers' incomes change. For normal goods, like better cuts of meat or branded clothing, demand rises as income rises. For inferior goods, like public transportation, demand falls as income rises because people switch to better alternatives like cars. As a manager, you must know this to build a resilient product portfolio. A portfolio heavy on luxury goods will suffer in a recession, while one with normal and inferior goods will be more stable. Finally, there's cross-demand, which is vital for competitive analysis. It shows how the demand for your product changes when the price of another product changes. If the price of coffee goes up and the demand for tea increases, they are substitutes. If the price of petrol goes up and the demand for cars goes down, they are complements. Understanding this tells you who your real competitors are and where potential partnerships for product bundling might exist. Now let's look at the origin of demand. Is it direct or derived? Direct demand is for goods that satisfy a consumer's want immediately. Think of a person buying a car. That's a direct demand for personal transportation. It's the end of the chain. Marketing for direct demand goods focuses on brand, emotion, and reaching the end consumer. But that single car purchase creates a ripple effect. To build that car, the manufacturer needed steel, tires, glass, and robotics. The demand for these industrial products is derived demand. It exists only because there was a direct demand for the final product. If you're a manager at a steel company, you don't just watch car sales. You watch consumer confidence, fuel prices, and transportation trends to predict the future demand for your steel. Your fate is derived from the final consumer, and your marketing is B2B, focused on relationships, technical specifications, and reliability. Next, you need to understand your place in the market. Industry demand is the total demand for a product from all companies combined. For example, the total number of smartphones sold in India in a year. Company demand is your slice of that pie. Your slice is your market share. If 10 crore smartphones were sold last year, industry demand, and your company sold 2 crore of them, company demand, your market share is 20%. This single number tells you if you're a leader, a challenger, or a niche player. A manager's job is to decide, do we fight for a bigger slice of the existing pie, or do we try to make the whole pie bigger for everyone? A market leader might focus on growing the industry, while a challenger must focus on aggressive tactics to steal share. Even within your market share, not all customers are the same. The total market is everyone who buys a certain product, but savvy managers divide that total market into smaller, more manageable market segments. A segment is a group of customers with shared characteristics, like age, income, or lifestyle. For example, in the apparel industry, the total market is huge. But a company like Fabindia doesn't try to sell to everyone. They focus on a specific segment, urban consumers who prefer ethnic, handcrafted textiles. By understanding the unique demand of this segment, they can tailor their products, pricing, and marketing perfectly, creating intense brand loyalty and higher profit margins than if they tried to be everything to everyone. The question for a manager is, which customer segment can we serve better than anyone else? Finally, you must consider the element of time. Short-term demand is about immediate fluctuations, often driven by seasonality or promotions. Think of the demand for air conditioners in Varanasi. It skyrockets from April to July. That's a predictable short-term spike. A manager uses short-term forecasts for operational decisions like inventory management and workforce scheduling. Long-term demand, however, is about the deeper structural shifts in a market. The slow but steady rise in the adoption of electric vehicles, driven by environmental concerns and government policy, is a long-term trend. A smart manager uses long-term forecasts for strategic decisions like building a new factory or entering a new country. They manage their inventory for the short-term seasonal rush, but they invest their R&D funds based on the long-term trend that will define their industry for the next decade. Confusing a short-term spike for a long-term trend can lead to disastrous overinvestment. Just as we classify demand, we must classify our goods. First, you have non-durable consumer goods, things that are used up quickly, like a bar of soap or a cup of coffee. Their demand is frequent and often habitual. Their key determinants are price, brand loyalty, widespread distribution, and promotional activities. Second, there are durable consumer goods, products with a long life, like a car, a washing machine, or a smartphone. Their demand is infrequent, expensive, and highly sensitive to economic confidence and credit availability. Key determinants here are consumer income, interest rates, technological changes, and after-sales service. And third, you have capital goods, or producers' goods. These are the things that make other things: the factory machinery, the software, the delivery trucks. Their demand is derived, and it's a powerful indicator of business investment and economic health. Their demand is determined by the health of the industries they serve, interest rates for financing, and government policies on investment. Let's zoom in on the unique challenge of forecasting demand for durable goods. Unlike a packet of biscuits, people don't buy a refrigerator every month. The problem is twofold. You have new demand from first-time buyers, and you have replacement demand from existing owners. These two groups are driven by very different factors. Forecasting replacement demand is especially tricky. It depends on the product's physical life, but more importantly, its technological life. Your perfectly good 4G smartphone suddenly feels obsolete when 5G becomes the standard. This is called technological obsolescence. Furthermore, during an economic downturn, consumers can easily postpone the purchase of a new TV or car, creating pent-up demand that is difficult to predict. This makes forecasting for durables a high-stakes game of psychology, technology, and economics. Managers must use sophisticated tools like survival analysis and monitor service data to get this right. So, let's bring it all together. Imagine you're a manager at Maruti Suzuki. You use your strategic map. You see the long-term direct demand shifting towards SUVs. Within the total market, you identify a key segment: middle-class families in Tier 2 cities. You analyze your company's current market share in that segment versus your competitors. Based on this, you decide to launch a new, affordable SUV. This, in turn, creates derived demand for capital goods. You invest in new assembly line robotics. You plan for a short-term launch promotion, while basing your production capacity on the long-term forecast for this durable good, carefully considering the replacement cycle. Mastering the classification of demand allows you to see the full picture. It moves you from making isolated guesses to making integrated, data-driven strategic choices. It's how you build a resilient, forward-looking business. So, the final question for you as a manager is, have you mapped your demand?